name is Gillian Pelkonen. I'm an audio engineer. Also a musician. That's kind of how I got into loving audio. And what is there to know about me? I went to school for a bunch of things, but ended up getting my master's in audio engineering during the pandemic. So I'm kind of just out in the workforce trying to share my knowledge and capture some good sound.
Cool. All right. Well, now you know a little bit about us. Our focus today is about all things tech in the voiceover world. And when we run out of tech questions, we'll be happy to answer any of your other overall voiceover questions. So feel free to type in the chat. Actually, let me start at the top over here. Gloria asks, can you recommend a good CMS?
Where does it say that? I got a question for me. Sorry, I'm going to answer mine. Jillian, where did you get your master's from? From Michael V. From Syracuse University. It's where I got my undergrad from as well.
It says it all the way at the top.
Can you recommend a good CMS? Can you elaborate on CMS?
Do you mean CRM?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with
If you're talking about a good CRM, which is customer
Wix.
relationship management, then I always recommend Cloze, Cloze. It's a fantastic contact management system. It integrates with Gmail, it integrates with Outlook, it integrates with your social media platforms. It's a great project manager. And I even have a video called Close for Voice Actors, which you can purchase at the VO Strategist shop.
Wow. If I use my CRM comes from inside of Wix, where my website is hosted, and that's kind of where my whole little multiverse of internet things comes from there.
I do use Wix too. I use both of them actually, both as a coach and as a voice actor. They're both very, very good. Also at the top, Gloria asks, "What payment methods do you use?" Well, as a voice actor, I get paid by check, PayPal, Wise, credit card. I can pay by credit card. I've gotten paid on Google Pay, Samsung Pay, wire transfer, Zelle. Pretty much however the client wants to pay me, I will happily accept.
That is my answer as well. I like to be flexible. Voice overview for my CRM. I have not heard of that before.
The trick is to make sure that you have accounts in all of those so you can be as flexible as possible with your payment methods. All things being equal, I love it if my international clients pay me via Wise because it's direct deposit and they don't take any fees out. And if it's a domestic client, I prefer Zelle because it is instant account to account and it's free.
Yeah, Zelle rocks. Cool. Everyone has such a diverse set of things that they use to run their business. Very
Oh,
interesting.
Mike recommends VoiceOver View for a CRM. That's a very good one as well. Yep, Zoho I've heard great things about. FreshBooks is great. I also use Wise apps.
Wow, everybody in the chat. What's your favorite mic? It's supposed to be an ask me anything, and now I'm asking them questions.
Well, that's the awesome thing about the voiceover industry. It's a great community and everybody can learn from everybody, regardless
We
of where
can
you are in your voiceover journey.
chit chat. Tom, what mic? I know what mic you're using, but I'm going to ask you, what mic are you using? Do you have
Jillian asks, about Adobe Audition.
Audition due to certain issues. What do you recommend? Um, I'm curious as to what the issues are for multi-track recording. I mean, the one that comes to my head, I don't usually recommend Pro Tools to people right away because it is complicated. But if you're working in multi-track in Audition, um, that might be the next best option. There's also a ton of mono recording programs that I would recommend, but I wonder what type of computer. Would you mind sharing more info on like what computer you have, what your situation might be? I don't know if we can answer it back and forth like this, um, but there are definitely a few options.
I am a huge fan of Adobe Audition. I've been
Yeah,
using it since 2006 when it was Adobe Sound Booth.
I know, such a bummer that there are issues. There's also, I know sometimes people will use Reaper instead of um, Pro Tools because it's totally not as expensive. So that also has multi-track recording, but it depends on if you have a Mac, you could try Logic. Kind of depends on your situation. Sennheiser 416, AKGC 414 for 2 decades. Wow, that's awesome. My Mac can't be green up. Oh, okay.
Love the Sennheiser 416. I've had mine for 6 years. It's great.
Can't be upgraded to the program that Adobe now requires. Got it. Um, well, I guess that's a conversation of like, yeah, I would, if you're not able to use Audition and you need multi track recording, then I would say maybe try Reaper. Pro Tools is a really big investment. It's quite expensive. But I also think as a voice actor, I don't see a lot of people needing a multi track recorder. Tom, what do you think? You use Audition, but do you use like the multi track interface or just the mono recording interface?
The nice thing about Audition is that it's a very robust DAW, but unlike Pro Tools, which is extraordinarily complicated, it's way more than any voice actor needs, unless they're doing like full cast audio production.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can strip it down so you can just use it pretty simply. Like basically, I start a project, press the red button, talk, press the red button,
Mm-hmm.
and use the and do the tiniest bit of post,
Mm-hmm.
and it's good to go, and it's broadcast quality.
Yeah, okay. Twisted Wave, Michael, yeah, I think Twisted Wave is good, but last time I checked, Twisted Wave doesn't do multi-track recording, it's only mono. And if you're writing meditations and applying music, super cool. I love that. I love meditating and music. Maybe since you do have a Mac, you can try working in, GarageBand is free in there, and you can totally do multi-track recording in there depending on what version or what OS you're running. Um, yeah, I would recommend trying that out. And if you like it, upgrading to Logic, it's like $200 and you have it for the lifespan of when you have a Mac. That one's really good for recording music.
I've heard great things about Reaper too. There's a lot of Reaper fans out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a lot of people that work with that.
And Twisted Wave, I've also heard great things about as well, which
Yeah,
had Bo Weaver, the great movie trailer voice, be a consultant to develop Twisted Wave. So we have voice actor input in developing that particular DAW.
yeah, Twisted Wave is awesome. I don't use it very often, but it has they've been upgrading it. There's this new feature now where you can kind of sync up your audio with text and it has speech recognition. So if you're like working with copy, you can follow along with a script and that's like I think super helpful if you're, you know,
Hi,
editing.
Lori. Good to see you.
Hello. You didn't miss anything, Lori. Don't worry.
Yes, and you can always listen to the replay, watch the replay afterwards.
Yeah,
Lori is
have
one of my mentorship students, so it's very nice to
Ooh.
see her.
Hello. First Wave has upgraded. Yeah, they're on the up and up. It's super cool. They have a lot of, and it's really great that they are free. I think that recently they just also
Hi, Sherry.
developed so that
Welcome.
you could use Twisted Wave. No, their website doesn't say that, so I'm not gonna take that back.
Other questions?
We have 17 friends watching. You guys, any questions, or maybe if you don't have a question, something you want us to talk about?
Yeah, we could totally go back and forth about a subject.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Technical or non-technical.
Fun questions are allowed.
Hi, Drita. So nice to see you. It's great to see lots of real life voiceover industry friends popping in to say hi. It's so nice to see everybody. Very
Everyone's
cool.
hanging out. It's just a nice. I don't know if it's raining by you, but it's raining by me, so it's like a
It is
lazy nice.
extremely windy and rainy out here.
I know. Good time to be inside talking about audio.
Ah, okay. Scarlet question.
Scarlet question. Is it good? That's the question. Tips for setting goals for the new year. Ooh, that's fun. Scarlet, good. I know Scarlets, some people are not into them. I don't personally have one, but I've used one and I tend to recommend it. Um, I think that it's a good
Hey,
price
Stu.
point, and I think that I would recommend it. I have some gear recommendations that I can share with everybody in the chat, and yeah, I think that I don't know. How do you feel about Scarlet's, Tom?
I had the 2i2 for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
I was okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not a technophile, um, but I it had just such limited options that I wasn't really comfortable with it, and the connection wasn't great after a
Hmm.
relatively short period of time. So I switched over to the Apollo Arrow,
Mm-hmm.
or was it the Twin? And it was horrible. I
It
was
was
very,
horrible.
very unhappy with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was USB-C,
Mm-hmm.
and I was advised to get it to get onto the USB-C train. But the problem with it is that it couldn't phone patch, or it was always static with Zoom or Skype. And to try to have two separate audio interfaces for phone patching and recording, it was ridiculous. So I returned it. Um, and then I got the Steinberg UR12, which was great.
Mm-hmm.
And I used that for a few years. And then, like the 2i2, there was a connection issue. So now I'm using the Mo2 M2, and I've had that for a few months, and I'm really happy with it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I've used Scarlet. I've used the bigger Scarlet ones as well. They have some like really expensive professional ones that I've used in studios, and when I've worked with those, I've really loved Focusrite and kind of what they do. But I have heard a lot of people having issues with the longevity of a Scarlet. But if you're looking for something simple, it seems, very easy to figure out and to navigate, especially if you're new to voiceover. So I always say to try it. I saw someone said they have the SSL2. I also think that that one is good. I've been looking at that for myself because I have a really simple setup at home. Um,
Yeah,
if
almost
you,
every studio I go to, I see a Scarlett Focusrite product.
yeah, but my favorite, like my recommendations, I usually for like a low budget, I recommend the Scarlett, either the Solo or whatever the ones that have 2 and 4 interfaces. And then the SSL2 is like a great low to medium budget option. And then for mid range or higher, I like Apogee. Apogee makes a lot of great products. They have a duet that is I, just two, two inputs. Um, and then the Symphony by Apogee, that's like a bigger one. And those are really great. A few people that I've worked with that use those, they always sound really, really good. Let's go back to some questions. Sorry, I started
Yeah,
ranting. Thank
I
you
think
guys for
the
giving questions.
yeah, this is awesome. Robbie, I think, has
If
the
Robbie,
oldest question, which is about tips on setting goals for the new year. Oh boy.
right?
Well, I've been working on that with a lot of my mentorship students, how to set goals for the new year. I mean, my obnoxious answer is, book a session with me and I'll help you plan the new year. But
Mm,
figure out, what does success look like for you? What is your definition of success in the long term, which could be who knows how far down the road, and in the short term, 2023? And I always break it down into the 5 categories of the voiceover business that was taught to me by Dan Duckworth of Voiceovers Unlimited, which is cash flow, tools, technique, marketing, health. Break down all of the goals into those 5 categories and then chop up each of those goals into tasks, so you can come up with an actionable plan, so you can kind of attack your goals one little bit at a time, so it doesn't seem like this big overwhelming monster. It becomes manageable and actionable throughout the whole year.
yeah, I think for me setting goals for the new year, I got pretty good advice from someone in school when I was in school a while back to break your year up into sets of 3 months. And so I think for me looking at like a month or two at a time is super manageable. Like having bigger goals for the whole year, but really just looking at, okay, going into January, how do I want to be working, or what do I want to be accomplishing, or where do I want to be spending my time? And I like to look at big goals and then month long goals and then kind of day to day goals. Like, do I want to be walking in the morning? Do I want to be meal prepping so I can, work throughout the day and not have to stop? So I think that breaking things into small pieces really helps me set goals and stay consistent, because you don't want to set a goal and then just forget about it. It's breaking it down is helpful for me.
Right, right. Good. No, that's very, very good advice. Stu says, hi, great to see you. Trying to do more VO and less project management. Totally understandable. What's the best place to rent microphones to try in-home studio? To rent microphones to try in-home studio.
So I
I'm going to give
know,
that one to Jillian.
yeah, I don't know a ton of people who rent out microphones. I do know Guitar Center will rent you a microphone, but I think the best way that people kind of try out a microphone is to buy it, try it out, and then if you don't like it, return it. Like, has that been your experience, Tom? When you like didn't like an interface and sent it back, you just returned it.
Right. Yeah. I was a big Guitar Center fan for a long time. I used to buy all of my gear from Guitar Center
Mm-hmm.
until I moved to New York City, and now I live literally across the street from B&H.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you're so I haven't been to B&H in forever. Can you go in there and try out a microphone?
They have a full-blown little mini recording studio with a whole row of microphones, and they just plug in the headphones into each microphone, and you could just do a shootout right there.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I
It's
think that
amazing.
in Guitar Center, Sam Ash, a few other music stores, you can also do that. For me, I mean, since I work in recording studios, I usually try things out by like being there and trying it. But that's not a super accessible answer. That's just, sometimes I'll work with something, and that's how I found the mic that I love. I tried it and I was like, oh, I love this mic. I want to buy it. But I do think if you check return policies on stuff, if you buy a mic, try it at home, figure out if you like the sound, you can return it depending on the return policy.
Right.
I haven't heard of a ton of people renting it. Um, when do you know when to upgrade gear, mic's interface, etc.? So this is from Robbie. Hi, Robbie. I think that's a complicated, you know, answer, but it has to do with a lot of things. I think if you're keeping track of your business and seeing how much you're making, kind of when you start to make a little bit more and you want to invest more back into your business, that's a good time to upgrade. Because I think, people get started in VO, they have a basic setup because you're kind of dipping your toes in, or it's so hard to just jump in and invest thousands of dollars on mics. I know I don't do that for myself. So if you feel like maybe your gear isn't serving you, or you are listening to voices or kind of content at the caliber at which you want to be voicing and think that maybe you need an upgrade, then that's a good time. But also, working with a professional or chatting with someone on your setup, that can help as well. I know coaches could probably give you some advice. I know personally I have an offering where I listen to people's setup and just kind of say like, hey, this is working, or maybe you need a few new things. Um, so that would be, I guess, there's no one right answer, but just seeing where you are and assessing if your setup is serving you, and just know that investing in high quality gear like microphones and cables and interfaces and a computer, the hugest investment is a really good working computer, will be long lasting and will serve you in the long run.
Cool.
Yeah.
Drita asks about a good travel setup for doing VO on the road. What do you think about that, Jill?
Um yeah, I do think that I want to say, get something small, compact, and easy, but also as someone, sometimes we get people calling in from the road and their sound is just like not great. So the thing with a road setup is it should be simplified, but it should be close to your in studio sound. So you don't want to, be going from a $500 mic and $1,000 interface to like a $200 USB mic. So something comparable, maybe see what from your current setup you could take with you. And I don't know. Tom, what do you do when you go on the road?
I pretty much use what I use at home.
Mm-hmm.
I've got the 416 here, and I've got a desktop mic stand,
Mm-hmm.
and that's plugged into my Mo 2.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of just recording and editing off of my desktop, I record off of my laptop.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a Lenovo Carbon X1, which I bought at B&H across the street for, I think, 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very powerful laptop. Yeah, so I pretty much use on the road what I use at home.
Yeah, so I guess my suggestion would be to see how you can make your at-home setup travel with you. I think having a really strong laptop, I don't know if you work on a desktop or a laptop, but getting a really powerful laptop will get you far. Same with your interface. I mean, interfaces for the most part are tiny. Those can come with you. And if you don't feel comfortable traveling with your mic for whatever reason, if it's a big investment, you don't have it insured, whatever that is, then maybe try to find one that's comparable, like the same type of mic, but maybe a little bit less expensive if you don't feel like traveling with it. Um, yeah, that would be my suggestion. I probably would have to know more about your setup, but if anyone wants to talk extensively, you can drop me a line or just keep asking questions here. When finalizing your editing audition, what should be applied, like EQ compression, or should you just send it in raw? Okay, so my personal take on it is I think that your audition sound and your sending in a job sound should be slightly different. Um, for an audition, you want to have consistent sound, and that could be, EQing your voice to bring out the right frequencies, compressing it to make it sound like what the finished job will sound like, because that's the point of an audition, right? You're trying to sell that your job could fill that niche. But when you do a job and you finish, I really prefer, as a person who edits them, that you just send your raw files, because I want to be able to work with it the most that I can. And sometimes people send me what they think is good compression, and as a professional, it doesn't sound like the compression I would put on it. Um, and again, it could be good to work with somebody and get your setup, your sound all ready to go. That's something I have experience with and can offer if you're interested in that. But yeah, I guess a little EQ compression. But if you have a good mic and a good interface and you sound like you and you sound clear, you should be, good. The point is to sound like yourself.
Yeah, it's funny. When I do my auditions, I clean them up,
Mm-hmm.
and I do make them sound a little more polished,
Mm-hmm.
with a little compression EQ, so they can get an idea of what the finished product could sound like. But
Mm-hmm.
if I book the gig, then I always send it raw.
Yeah.
Always send it raw. Not because they need to do what they need to do with it
Mm-hmm.
for post production, but also some of the work I do involves another voice actor who's recording at their
Mm-hmm.
own home with their own setup and a
Mm-hmm.
different DAW and a different mic and whatever. And it's critical for the audio engineer to make it as easy as possible for the audio engineer to match up our audio. So the less that you do with it, the better it is for the audio engineer to give a quality finished product.
Yeah, and the thing with plugins, compression, whatever, because when you're sending it to us, we can't take it off. So we can always add to it or make two people sound similar, but once it's there, it's like I can't uncompress your voice if you overcompress it. So I prefer that people send raw files. Um, let's see. Great VO classes in Atlanta or online. I know there's a I know about VO Atlanta, but that is a conference. Do you know any?
Yes, NVO Atlanta is an amazing conference that I got to
Mm-hmm.
speak at this year and a couple years in years past. There is an Atlanta voiceover studio that I see advertising quite a bit. I don't know any of the coaches in question, but here's the thing: now that we're living in a sort of almost kind of post-COVID world, so much voiceover training has gone 100% online. There just isn't as much live training going on anymore. So, Zoom based stuff, though we all have Zoom fatigue, there are a ton of classes online, and there's a ton of great organizations. Everything from, Gravy for the Brain is, one that comes to mind, but there's also a lot of individual coaches, amazing genre coaches that are out there. If you go to vostrategist.com, there is a blog that has my personal recommendations of coaches that you can work with online. So you may want to go check that one out.
Just going back to, sorry, I see people still chatting about the mobile setup. And I just want to go back because I feel like when I spoke about it, we spoke mostly about the gear. But I find that the most issues, and I speak from issues because those are things to kind of solve and work on, is that people on the go, their sound is different, not maybe because of their microphone, but because of their setup. And it's an overused suggestion because it works. Go in a closet, put some, jackets, pillows, all of those things to kind of dampen the echo in your room or whatever's going on. That's super helpful. And just make sure you have strong Wi-Fi because a lot of people are connected web-based, especially recording that way. And so making sure that you have strong Wi-Fi, testing before, that's also really important to having a good travel setup.
I just entered the blog post in the chat that has the recommended coaches. So you may want to check that out, everybody.
Check that
What
out.
else? What else do we have in here?
Raw edit submission, ask the client for preference. Yeah, you can ask the client for preference. As someone who edits, I would say the preference for an editor is usually unedited. And for an audition, it is definitely processed to some degree. Tom, a question for you.
Oh yeah. Quoting a job, do I stipulate raw audio only? As far as I'm concerned, raw audio is implicitly implied because they should have engineers on their end that are taking care of it. Also, since the majority of the work that I do is non-broadcast, it's usually never an issue. So raw audio is all they want. And even with the commercial stuff that I do. So I almost never do any post-production on any recordings, bookings that I do, short of getting rid of the burps, boo-boos, and curses, and maybe normalizing the volume a little bit. I almost never do anything beyond that because usually that's counterproductive because they don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see, any more questions?
And you can always ask.
This is so funny. I feel like we're ahead of time.
Yeah,
And we are
no,
technically ahead. Oh, I mean, like the fact that they're hearing stuff after we've already discussed it.
I
Hey,
know
so
it's kind of freaky
exciting.
because I'm listening to you twice, and sometimes I'm not sure who's talking, you or
Oh,
you,
I have
you
us
now
connected
or
to it.
now you or future you, present you or future you, or is it past you?
Everything is the same. Here's to less editing in 2023. Yes. Yeah. You guys are supposed to, I mean, anyone who's listening who's a voice actor, you guys do your thing. Don't worry about us editors and engineers and people like that. That's our whole job, is to make sure that's taken care of.
Yes, less editing in 2023. Yes, Catherine. And nice
Mm-hmm.
to see you, Catherine. You have so much to do as voice actors, and often you find yourself doing more than you should, because the technical is usually one of the things that scares people the most, and rightly so,
Mm-hmm.
because, most people coming into the voiceover industry have no audio engineering or editing experience. So they think you have to do all these billion things and buy all these isotope this and noise gate that. And most of the time, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Have, a decent microphone, have a quality recording space, have good microphone technique, and let the editors do the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the real Tom Deere between these two screens?
We're both the real
You'll
Tom
never know.
Deere. You'll never know.
I could be an AI.
I was going to say that too. I'm just an AI generated part
Yes.
of Tom's imagination.
Yes. This is just AI generated answers.
They would be much more ambiguous and confusing if they were AI generated answers. Or maybe not. Maybe they'd be much more concise than I am being. Can we talk about a client asking for playback during a live Zoom session? Oh, yeah. Can we talk about that? It's
100%. Because
stressful.
I just figured out how to do this recently.
So how do you do it?
The simplest thing is just share your screen with them and make sure you click the share audio
Mm-hmm.
box, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I don't have Source Connect on my computer, but I know that with Source Connect, that's super easy to share. Whenever I need to be moving audio around my computer, if you have this is Mac only, but it's called Loopback, and that just lets me control where my audio's going to and coming from, so I can, you know, pull my audio from here, move it to Pro Tools, move it, like it's kind of just like a signal flow. It just moves your audio around digitally. I don't know if that was a good answer, but I'll plug it. That's so funny. Someone claims to be you.
Oh, Mike is Tom Deere. I'm sorry. I thought I was Tom Deere. My apologies.
I'm just gonna. That's easier to see visually. I'll put what Loopback does here. But they have a few different services. Loopback is just one of them, but they have a bunch of apps and they let you kind of move your audio around within your computer. It's super cool. Oh no, I'm gonna be Tom Deere.
Haha. I'm going to answer Angelo's question. Is it a good idea to head over a talent agency in person and show them your stuff? That is a terrible idea. Don't even think about doing that. Don't ever, 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 ever do that. Because you are automatically disrupting their day. And you're also demonstrating that you don't know how to take direction. Because they have submission guidelines, either on their website or on the call sheet. And if you're ignoring them, then the only thing they know about you is you don't know how to take direction. So don't do that. Do not do that. Follow their submission guidelines to the letter. And if they don't reply, they don't reply. You can try again in 6 months.
Yeah, that's typically, just wait it out. And usually no response is a response in some way. What, even though it's not the best one, we don't want to hear that or feel that. But unfortunately, it's true. Do you ever ask a client for a copy?
Robbie asks, do you ever ask a client for a copy of the finished product e-learning or not? Not. It is internal. Never ask for it. If you do ask it, it'll make them very, very nervous, because now you may be violating well, even if you didn't sign an NDA, if you're doing any internal content, I just assume it's under an NDA. So yeah, stay away from asking for internal content for your portfolio.
Oh, Angelo, just looking at your question again, submitting through email, most casting agencies and people with rosters don't accept demos through email. If you go to their website, there's usually a very, very specific way in which they're accepted and processed. And so a lot of times if you go and not don't follow the directions, you will be ignored because you need to follow the directions.
Now, if it isn't internal, yeah, 100% ask for it. If it's going to wind up on a front-facing place, like obviously a commercial, you can look on iSpot. You know, if it's going to be on social media, you can look at their social media channel. If it's on YouTube. So what I do is every month, I have a list of all the clients that I booked and all the gigs that I booked. And I go to YouTube and I type in the name of every product, business, or service that would be front-facing. And if I find it, I download it off of YouTube. So I have that MP4, and then you can put that into something like Adobe Audition, and you can separate the MP4 from the MP3. So then you'll have the video and the audio, because since it's on YouTube, then by definition, it's public content. So you can use it to promote yourself.
Guys, thank you for an interesting and lively conversation. We have like a little bit less than 20 minutes left, so if you're thinking about a question, now is the time to ask it so that we can answer it.
Yes. Yes. These are
Don't be
fantastic
shy.
questions that everyone's
Yeah.
asking. So yes, please keep them coming. And we've already started to drift into non-questions, non-tech questions.
Mm-hmm.
To slate or not to slate? The answer is you do exactly what the casting notice says.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's it. If it says slate, slate. If it doesn't say slate, don't slate. That's another thing. If you slate when it says don't and you don't slate when it says do, it's another example of you not being able to take direction.
Mm-hmm.
So only slate when they tell you to. Personally, I think it's silly, especially considering your name is going to be 99% of the time in the MP3 file. Also, slating takes me out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And people say slate in character. Well, then I feel like an idiot. So I don't do that. Great seeing you, Catherine.
Yeah, sometimes it's definitely hard to track down finished spots. It's just such a journey from when the talents are involved to completion. There's like so many steps. Definitely easy to get lost.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's so hard to navigate the industry with all of these little, extremely crucial questions. But that's why I'm here. That's the main reason I am the VO strategist, because I am
Mm-hmm.
here to answer those questions and help you avoid the mistakes that I made when I was early in my voiceover journey, and the same little things that come up every single day. Oh, and Tab saying it's you're having a difficult time finding videos there. If you're having trouble finding your content on YouTube, you can always email the client and say, "Oh, I'd love to see the finished product. Do you have a YouTube link?" Oh, you're my gym partner. Oh, okay. Nice to see you. Yes, now I know who you are. That's so funny. Um, but also you should be following your client's social media channels to see what's going on and to be engaging their content and supporting what they're doing. So the odds are pretty good that you'll find a video like an explainer or something that you narrated on their social media channel. And how much time do you allow when recording before and after the audition? I throw in like a half a second before
Yeah,
and after.
something short. Because especially with an audition, you kind of just want to get it started, get your name slate if that's what they're asking for quick, and then get right into the audition because that's what everyone's listening for. Just enough time where it doesn't sound like you're abruptly, cutting off.
Yeah, because they could be listening to dozens, if not 100 auditions, and they are looking for excuses to disqualify you. And it's not malicious. It's just they have so little time and they have so much to do. And if you're waiting too long, it could be bad. Oh, question for you, Gillian.
Gillian, that's a new one.
Sorry, Gilligan.
That's
Gilligan.
okay. My name's Tom Deer, actually.
And Tom's an AI.
What company do you work for, or are you a freelance? What is, I guess I consider myself a creative entrepreneur. I work for a bunch of places and a bunch of people. So that's my long and short answer. This was a very short answer.
Yes, Gillian is in demand in for many studios all over the place, and I understand why she's reluctant to specifically say which one she is or isn't working for, because we're not here to plug uh, any of them, though they're all wonderful. Otherwise, Gillian wouldn't work with them in the
Yes.
first place.
Yes, I do work with I work in all in New York in the East Coast for a bunch of digital and in person, brick and mortar studios.
Pay to play. Okay. Um, it's interesting how my advice on this has evolved over the past 15, 16 years. But if you are early in the voiceover journey, even if you're not early in the voiceover journey, your job as an effective voiceover business in the 21st century is to feed the algorithms. And one of the most important algorithms you need to feed is that of pay to play sites. Why? Because that's where all the clients have gone. I've lost count of all the direct marketing clients that I developed over many, many years who are now on pay to play sites. And if I'm not on that pay to play site that they are casting their voiceover projects, I can't work with them. So that's the reality of it. And they do that because it's just so much easier for them to manage a project through a pay to play site. Is Voice123 a good website? I can't promote or criticize any particular pay to play site. I will not do that because well, first, I don't want to get yelled at, and I don't, you know what I mean? So I can't do that. What I can tell you is that some are more ethical than others. Some of them are bigger than others that have more opportunities than others. My advice as the VO strategist is get on as many quality pay to play sites as you can afford and try to audition 10 to 15 times a day between all of them to develop your auditioning skills, to develop your bidding skills, and the most important thing is to develop your project management skills. The other thing I'll say is that tens of thousands of people are on all these different pay-to-play sites, and so many of them have so many different experiences. So I can't, if I say this one's great and you book nothing, or I say this pay-to-play site is terrible and you make six figures on it, the cliche is your mileage will vary, and that's absolutely true. So you can't take anybody's experience on any pay-to-play site as gospel. You have to find out and navigate it yourself to find out if it works for you. Other questions? Oh, Gillian, how do we reach out to you for help?
Oh my gosh, great question. I was just typing my info at the bottom, but I have a website at chillwiththeg.com, and that's the best way to get a hold of me. And I have a few offerings at the moment, planning to expand, but right now it's just an audio assessment where you would send me a piece of your audio. I would listen and get back to you with some things that I would suggest. Everything, I think there's a bunch of categories I go through, but it's, processing, your gear, how your studio sounds, if, yeah, just the whole 9 yards of assessing your setup and offering suggestions for bettering it. And then from there, we could do a personalized setup with plugins if you're interested in that. But if you use VO Strategist, all caps, then for being here, you get 10% off.
Very
Plug.
cool.
Plug.
Look at that. That's awesome. What a great, generous offer. I didn't know you were going to do that. That's so cool.
Oh, yes.
And I'll type in
You can pass that along to all your peeps. I sent it in the chat, but
mine. That's vostrategist.com.
hmm
And I encourage you to book and I'll just type it in here, free 15-minute consult. And, you can always book a diagnostic where we take an hour and look under the hood and check out what's going on in your voiceover business and try to figure out where all the, leaky whatevers are in your voiceover engine. Geez, couldn't come up with a single mechanic metaphor. Also, you can join my mentorship program, if I can spell it properly, where you can sign up for 30-minute check-ins and you can book them once a week, once a month, or twice a month. And if you are part of the mentorship program while you are enrolled, you get 50% off all of my VO how-to workshops, and you get 50% off all of the VO how-to videos in my library. I think I'm up to 25 videos now that talk about every aspect of the voiceover industry on a business and marketing level, time management, workflow, how to file your taxes, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I recommend that you check that out.
Wow, very exciting. Plug City, just giving the
Well,
people what they want.
yeah. Well, I think we've exhausted the CTAs, Gillian. So this is probably a good place to stop. But
Yeah, does anyone have any other questions? We still have a few more minutes.
Yep. Any quick questions before we wrap up?
If not, Tom, I have a question for you. We could be a nice thing to end on. But
Absolutely.
what is something that you're working on that you're really excited about?
What am I working on that I'm excited about? Well, I did some new genre exploration this year, and the one that I've decided to dive into is political narration. And I worked with J. Michael Collins, demo producer extraordinaire. And if you do want to work with JMC, mention my name, you'll get a discount. And we produced a one-spot demo, political demo that has literally one spot. I submitted that to one of my managers, and then they started sending me auditions, and I booked 4 political spots this season. So this only happened from like September and October.
Wow, that's
As
late.
quickly as 1 week before the midterm elections, I booked one. So I'm very excited about that. So that's, and I'm looking forward to next year.
Awesome.
What's exciting that you're working on, Gillian?
Oh, I didn't think of an answer before I asked it, but I'm working to build some courses, some audio courses, so that will be really fun. And I have a few musical projects that I'm working on in the upcoming year. There should be a couple weeks where I'm making some samples with an engineer I really respect. That'll be fun. Possibly traveling for some music recording. That would be really fun as well. So just kind of looking forward to some stuff that's in the works. That should be exciting.
Very cool. All right, let's wrap up with this last question from Angelo. Recount the time you first had representation. Was it a big game changer? What were you doing prior? Did your work process change? Please tell me a story. The first thing, I'm going to preface it by saying, don't worry about agents anytime soon. That's a down the road thing. It's very hard to get on a lot of rosters right now. Turnover is very, very low for rosters because when COVID hit, they had to turn over their rosters and make sure everybody that's on their roster can record from home and phone patch. So my first representation, I paid for, and it was a ripoff. This is in the early 90s. So I learned my lesson the hard way. My first consistent representation was in 2005, and it was my manager, which I still work with to this very day. And I'll tell you this, agents aren't going to make you a success. If you are just starting out, they're not going to discover you and make you a star. That's just not how it works. Agents give you opportunities to enhance your career. You have to have quality training. You have to have a good demo, website, home recording, and a portfolio. And it's not, I can't get an agent without experience and experience without an agent. That's just outright wrong. Jump on pay-to-play sites. develop your skills, develop your portfolio, be so good that agents can't ignore you. So I'm sorry if that, shatters some, illusions, but agents are 5% of my income. My most important relationship that I have is with the voiceover community. 50% of the voiceover income that I make every year can be ultimately traced back to a fellow voice actor who recommended me. So I say to that, who's more important to you, the agent that's going to make you a star or your so-called competition?
That was a good answer.
All right. There are a couple other quick questions. Do I have time to do a quick VO? I don't have any copy in front of me, so I'm sorry. Go to tomdeer.com. You will find hundreds of samples. I have 11 demos and hundreds of samples. I've streamed all of my YouTube channels and playlists of all the VO work that I've done. You can listen to it there. And Kat did 48 SAG after political spots last year, then got blacklisted, legally threatened for having your manager reach out to the clients to see about getting copies. I can't speak to that. That's weird. But anyway, wow. Very sorry about that. And Tabs, great to appreciate your time. You're very welcome, Angelo. All right. So I know I've never heard of that, Kat. That's just bizarre. Okay, so let's wrap it up here. Gillian, thank you so much for coming. It was great having you.
Having me.
Yes, this was so much fun. And subscribe to the VO Strategist blog because Gillian and I recorded a conversation about tech. And the next blog post that we'll release in a couple of weeks will have that wonderful conversation.
Yeah, if you want to subscribe
yes,
to mine
Kat,
as well.
absolutely. Tread lightly around political. Have good representation and good, have your ducks in a row.
Tom will be coming out on my blog as well. So if you want to subscribe to be ready for that. Yeah, I think we're good. Bye, everybody. Thank you for giving
All right.
us such
Bye,
great
everybody.
questions.
Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, the stream ended.